Start with the resume worksheet. Do your homework and use a worksheet. It may sound simple, but writing it down is incredibly helpful. You write down your education, your skills and abilities that will help you stand out from the crowd. Or if you have a minor or a special emphasis on design or video, etc., write down your personal goals, what your dream job or dream company may be. How are you going to get there? What kind of company do you want to target? Do you want a large agency, a small shop, a specific business like fashion or pharmaceuticals? There are many, many decisions that come into play. Writing it all down on paper or using a worksheet is a great way to organize your ideas and your skills. Seeing everything in print can help you organize, expand on, or edit your thoughts, as well as what and how you want to say it. Go over it more than once. Write it down, leave it alone, and go back to it later. Structuring your resume. A resume is a very personal thing, so no two resumes will be alike. Your resume should be tweaked and edited for each specific job for which you are applying. And at this point, it should be no more than one page. Generally, there are two major styles. There's the chronological and the functional. The chronological resume is the format that you're probably most familiar with. This is the type of resume that focuses on your work history, the positions that you have had in chronological order with the most recent first and the oldest at the bottom. Ultimately, the goal is to show your past positions have perfectly prepared you for the position for which you are applying. This resume is good for people who have some work experience for a specific job. The other is the functional resume. It emphasizes the relevance of your education and experience. In a functional resume, you'll feature your education first, then your skills or work experience, organized how closely the positions relate to the position that you are applying. This format is best for those just starting out to emphasize your education and the skills that you have acquired to help you be successful in this position. Regardless of the format resume you choose, at the top of the resume you should always include a header containing your name, contact information, your phone number, personal email address, as well as, and this is very important, links to your portfolio and or your personal website, as well as an updated LinkedIn page. That's very important. You can include Instagram, Twitter, or Snapchat if you are active on those media, as long as there's nothing there that a potential employer should not see. Or be sure it's private, because they may check or a recruiter may stop by. In general, at this point, you should be very careful what you post because it never goes away and it may haunt you. There's been debate over whether or not you should include your physical address. I like to see it so I know how far a person lives. It may not make a difference, but it may open up some more questions that I would like to ask. Avoid putting your contact information only in the footer of the document itself, because footers and sometimes headers can be overlooked by the software many companies use to scan resumes. Also, don't use a crazy email address like partyguy69. This is your first contact with this organization. You're putting your best foot forward. You want to show them you are a responsible, mature professional, not some crazy college co-ed. No matter how amusing you think it is, it's not. If I see that, it goes right in the trash. It takes 2 minutes to open a professional email address like your first name dot last name at gmail.com. So do that and then check it often. What not to include in the contact information section? Your date of birth. The HR manager doesn't need to know how old you are, and it might lead to bias based on your age. Again, that unprofessional email address, do yourself a favor and open one with your name at gmail.com or something like that. The headshot. The HR manager doesn't need to know what you look like in order to evaluate your application, so there's no reason to include it. Save the space and use it for something more important. Professional summary and highlights. I'm not talking about your objectives. This is a waste of important space. We all know your objective is to get your dream job. It is not necessary to say that on your resume. So save the space for other important information like your skills and things that will help you get the job. You should use this space to summarize why you are a great candidate. Write a short paragraph or maybe a few bullet points of your experience and why you would excel in this position. Fill this area with relevant experience of past accomplishments that will help make the reader want to know more about you. It can be experience gained anywhere, like succeeds in a high pressure situation, but be sure that it's relevant. Some examples might be creative graphic artist with experience working with Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, and Adobe Suite software. Okay, so you're telling them these are your skills. This is what you're comfortable using. A resourceful problem solver who is adept at remaining calm in stressful situations. Okay, so maybe you didn't have a job at an agency doing this, but you do have experience doing it somewhere. Whatever your specific intern experience was, that's very important. Working on multiple projects with successful outcomes. You do this in school, you do this all the time. You juggle your work to get things done. And whatever expertise you have in anything, in any kind of programs, even though you think that it doesn't pertain to the job, you never know. You want to give yourself that little edge that's going to push you in front of any other candidate. Be brief and to the point, but focus on your achievements. The education section. Since many jobs require a certain level of education, it's important to mention your academic credentials on your resume. However, this section shouldn't take up too much space. In most cases, simply listing where you went to school, when you attended, and what degree you attained will be sufficient. Although if you graduated with a high GPA, cum laude, magna cum laude, you can list it. It tells me that you're a hard worker. Also, it's not written on this example, but put the year that you graduated. If you have more than one college, put the most recent first. Now we come to the work experience section. 2 words, outcome driven. This critical section of your resume is where you detail your work history in a consistent and compelling format. This section should include company names, locations, employment dates, roles, and titles. Not only are you just listing this information, but you are expanding on each experience using bullet points containing action verbs and data points that detail the relevant accomplishments of each position. This portion is essential for recruiters and hiring managers who look for information about your skills and experience to connect you for what they're looking for in a potential hire. So to stand out, you want to focus on your achievements in your resume. So instead of just saying what you did, say it in terms of the outcome. So let's say you're saying I'm responsible for client comps. In simple terms, how exactly have you helped the company be successful or reach its goals? You haven't told me anything. So instead, say that you were part of a team that landed a $2 million client. The interviewer will probably ask you how you were involved, so be prepared to discuss. And chances are you did more than just simply comps. And this gives you an opportunity to expand on your experience instead of giving one small static skill. You'll stand out by focusing on your achievements, not just what you did. Present the information in terms of the outcome, saying in simple terms how exactly you helped the company be successful. You'll present yourself in a confident and competent manner as a member of a team. And don't downplay it. Be confident. Don't exaggerate. You're not expected to be a rock star, just right for this position. Also, don't forget to mention any internships or unpaid work experience that's relevant to this job. Example, you did a website for a local rock band, or you did an ad for a friend on Instagram. Experience is experience, and be sure to take advantage of any that you have. You don't need to mention it was unpaid or for a friend unless you're specifically asked. And one more thing, be truthful. In this day and age, it's very easy to verify information, and they do it. What if you get the job and you're totally lost? It won't be a good day for either of you. How to list work experience on your resume. The standard format is as follows. The job title or position. The title goes on top of each work entry When the HR manager scans your resume, you want them to know at a glance that you have the relevant experience for the job. The company name, location, and in some cases, description. You may want to describe briefly what department you worked in, like maybe communications or media if it's a large company that you wouldn't think does a lot of graphic design. Achievements and responsibilities. This is the core area of each experience entry. Like I said before, you should list your achievements instead of your responsibilities. Okay, you worked here, but how did you help them be successful? Telling me your responsibilities doesn't tell me anything. It doesn't tell me how you did your job, if you were good or bad. But accomplishments tell the story. You also want to put the date you were employed, the time frame you were employed at each company. If you don't know the exact dates, don't worry about it, but try to be as accurate as possible. And always use the format MM/YYYY. This is especially important for the scanning software that companies use. A tip is use different variations of the same font, like italic, bold, book, for bullet points. And don't bold everything. You'll wind up highlighting nothing. And don't use a million crazy fonts. Stick to one or two if you must. Remember, your goal is readability. You're best for the job, and here's why. If it's confusing or there's too much going on, you may wind up in the trash. Also, it's typical for computers to read resumes first, so strange fonts and formats may not get past the software. Also, try to use industry terms if possible. Again, you want to stand out. You want to focus on mentioning your achievements instead of just saying what you did. In simple terms, this is how I helped my company grow. The interviewer will ask how you were involved, so be prepared to discuss and elaborate. This is your time to shine. The section on skills has become more and more important as recruiters and hiring managers are increasingly looking for candidates with specialized backgrounds. Since at this point you may have little work experience, you'll want to emphasize your skill proficiency, including relevant internships, soft and hard skills, and any major projects. Clearly list them, highlighting your abilities and programs that you use, and tailor it to each job. If they see what they are looking for immediately, then they'll be much more likely to take your resume seriously. Go back to the worksheet. It may help you remember skills that you forgot. Remember, you should tweak this information to the specific opportunity or have multiple resumes depending on the positions that you are applying. That's generally what I do. Be sure to include universal skills that are useful for almost any job out there. These are both soft skills like leadership, teamwork, critical thinking, etc., and hard skills that are not specific to the job, like Excel, PowerPoint, being able to write well, etc. Whatever job you're applying to, chances are these skills will, in one way or another, come in handy, so feel free to include them, even if they're not specifically required. A little detail might edge you out over another applicant. For computer skills, I see a lot of scales out there that rate proficiency level for certain programs. I'm torn. This is good and bad. It's a really good way to give your interviewer important information about your skills quickly, but I would only use the scale if you are well versed in the programs that you are listing, because otherwise you're telling them what you're not so good at, and you don't ever want to be negative in any way on your resume. You don't need to make a scale. You can simply just make a list of your special skills and the programs that you can use. Another potentially valuable addition to your resume is the additional experience section. This is a catch-all section at the end of your resume that allows you to highlight awards, volunteer experience, and hobbies. Saying, I got the whatever scholarship or I graduated with high honors is important information. It tells me that this person is smart. Or say, I volunteer with local Meals on Wheels. I think this person is considerate and probably works well with others. Again, this might edge you over another applicant. Again, it shouldn't be too long. You don't want to detract from your other skills or work experience, but it can be a good way to provide a more well-rounded picture of who you are. Watch your list. You want to look mature and responsible, and don't go overboard because it may start to look like bull. Now, the most important information that I can give you, besides being outcome driven, is check, check, and recheck your resume. Run spell check, run grammar check. Any error is unacceptable. Run spell check and run grammar check. These are free. There is no excuse for not using it. Then have someone else read it for content and for clarity. And more people, the better. Ask your teacher. Ask somebody in the business. This is very important. You are showing your best. An error shows you are sloppy, and don't even bother to proof your own work. If I see this, I'll throw it right in the trash. Once I received a resume with so many errors, I actually took a red pen to it and sent it back. Don't be that person. Overall design and formatting tips. The subject matter of your resume is ultimately what recruiters care about the most. However, that doesn't mean you should slack off when it comes to design and formatting. Tasteful graphic backgrounds and clean fonts are in style right now. Choose a sans serif font like Cabrini over old school fonts like Times New Roman. Your type should look light and airy, and don't go crazy with the design. You may think you'll stand out with a designy resume, but a cluttered, visually confusing resume makes it more difficult to read, and therefore it's more likely to just be cast aside. A sleek, polished resume will have the opposite effect and be more attractive. And like I said before, don't go crazy with the fonts and the formats. They may not make it through the scanning software. Also, use these rules of thumb to ensure your resume looks its best. Use an easy-to-read font of no less than 11 points. Add margins of at least 3/4 of an inch on all sides. Make sure there's sufficient white space between each section and they are easily identifiable. Text should be minimal but thorough. Your resume shouldn't look like a wall of text. Be conscious of leaving lots of negative space and deep margins on the page. Use crisp, active language to convey clear descriptions of your work history and don't be too wordy. Don't go overboard with intricate design or decoration. Touches of color are nice, but avoid clashing or visually busy details. If you're going to print out copies of your resume, invest in good paper and use a high-quality printer. You can save your resume as a PDF. Some applications specifically ask for them, but don't just assume. Some applicant tracking systems can scan PDFs as if they are one big image and fail to capture any of your information, so they may want a Word doc instead. Be sure you know before you send it. Keep your resume to 1 page, 2 max. I have 20 plus years experience and a master's degree, and my resume is 2 pages. Again, be sure to run spell and grammar check. The fastest way to end up in the trash is a stupid error. This is unacceptable. And don't bother with references upon request. It's a waste of space, and if they want references, they will ask. So be sure to have 2 or 3 references beforehand that you can give, and not your friends. They should be either from a work experience or a teacher. Someone professional who will vouch for you. Basically, what you are doing here is saying, I want this job, I am perfect for this job, and here is why I will excel in it. The longer it takes an HR manager to extract the information, the less likely you are to make the cut. Imagine how many resumes a manager receives. You want to stand out, tell them your experience and how perfect you are for the job. Keep it simple and clear. Here are some good examples of readable and well-formatted resumes. Although you may not like the designs necessarily, but the information is concise and presented in a simple, easy-to-read format. Since the majority of job hunting is now conducted online, you need to be careful emailing and posting your resume on the internet. You need to be sure that you are protecting your identity and that the job you are emailing is legitimate. I've seen many job ads out there that are aimed at creating hope and then scamming you. They say you're perfect for the job and all we need is some information. Many of them send you information about the job via email, saying that you were referred to them by someone on, say, LinkedIn. The pay is great for the position. They ask you simple questions and then say you've made it to the next phase. Then you're hired for this great salary, and they need your personal information or your bank information for direct deposit for your pay, or they want you to fill out a tax form, and then that's it. Here's a few ways to spot a scam. Number 1, it's too good to be true. You didn't contact them, they contacted you. You're perfect for the job and you get it right away. Scammers troll job boards looking for victims. To reduce the chance that you'll get scammed, use job sites that have privacy policies that only allow verified employers to view the listings. You'll be glad you did, because this actually happened to me. Number 2, vague job requirements and job descriptions. Scammers try to make their email sound unbelievable by listing job requirements. Usually these requirements are so ridiculously simple that almost anybody qualifies. Example is you must be 18 years old, you must be a citizen, you must have access to the internet. The job requirements usually don't mention education or experience. As a rule of thumb, if it's a real job, the requirements will be quite specific. And if you ask for a job description or a list of duties and you get the brush off, the interviewer either ignores you or ignores the questions or says something like, "Don't worry, we'll train you." When it happened to me, I responded to the email and was asked what company they worked for, who referred them to me, and what company would I be working with. The response I got was an interview date and a page of vague questions to answer. That's when I knew this was bogus. Number 3, unprofessional emails. Some emails from scanners are well written, but many aren't. If the email contains spelling, capitalization, punctuation, or grammatical mistakes, be on your guard. Real companies hire professionals who can write well. Number 4, online interviews via messaging services. Many attempting scammers say the interview will take place online using an instant messaging service or via email and may ask for confidential information. Research the company and its representatives before you agree to an interview. And if you agree to be interviewed, ask detailed questions about the job during the interview. Don't give out any confidential information such as your bank account, credit card, or social security numbers. 5, emails from a free site or they don't include contact information. This is very important. Look at the email address. If it's not from a company and the email itself doesn't include the company's name, address, and phone, but it's from an email, like a free email site like Yahoo or Hotmail or something like that, it's a huge red flag. Also, watch out for the interviewers who make excuses for using personal email addresses by saying the company's servers are down or whatever. In any case, you need to be careful because just like any other bogus email, they can look like they come from real companies. An example of a fake email might be jobs@synergy-world.com, which is a real company. However, the real company email is synergyworld.com. I always go to the company's career page and see if the job is listed there. Always Google the email address to make sure of its validity. Be sure to copy and paste each address into the search box as it is. You can also type the word scam after the email address to see if anyone else has reported this company. I've done that as well. 6, the search results don't add up. Before agreeing to an interview, do your research. If it's a real company, you should be able to find out information about the company by doing a simple online search. But finding information does not guarantee that this company is legit. But if you can't find anything, you know it's a scam. The big problem is that sophisticated scammers sometimes set up really nice, professional-looking websites, and looks can be deceiving. Don't give them the benefit of the doubt just because you want the job. Do your research and trust your gut. 7, if you're asked to provide confidential information. Some scammers ask for your bank account information to either set up direct deposit for your pay or to transfer money to your account, or they may ask you to open a new bank account and provide the information to them. They may also ask you to fill out a tax form online, and then that way they have your social security number, your name, your birth date, your address. Other scammers will tell you to go to a website and fill out their online credit report form or other confidential information so that they can put you on the company's insurance. Identity theft scams try to get you to provide your social security number, birth date, and other personal information. Before entering personal information online, check to make sure that the website is secure by looking at the web address bar. The secure websites have URLs that begin with HTTPS, not HTTP, but not always. Scammers will try to and do anything they can to look official. So again, do your research and trust your guts. If it's too good to be real, it probably is. Number 8, sending money or using a personal bank account. Here is a neat trick. You receive a check that looks just like a real cashier's check. They instruct you to deposit or cash the check and then transfer money to another account. This is simply money laundering, and it's against the law. Other scammers ask you to receive and maybe forward packages from your home as part of your job. Who knows what's in these packages? They may contain stolen goods or illegal substances. Number 9, they want you to pay for something. Legitimate companies do not ask for money. If you are told you need to purchase software or pay for services, beware. A good example is they want you to buy this software. They say, you buy the software and then we'll send you a free laptop to use it. That will never happen. They say pay for a credit report. What they're trying to do is to get you to use their site to buy this report. And then they'll have all your personal information. Because what they'll do a lot of times as well is they'll charge you a $1 one-time fee, which sounds like nothing, but then they start charging you and charging you and charging you in little teeny amounts that you may not notice at once, but then it'll wind up being a great big amount. Or they ask you to do something like have your resume reviewed. If they do something like that, it's usually, $150 and we'll review your resume. You know that's not a job you want. Number 10, trust your gut when it says it's a scam. That's your best defense. If you feel that things aren't right, trust your intuition. Ask lots of questions and pay close attention to the answers. Slow down and don't feel pressured into making a commitment or giving personal information. Do your research. If it turns out to be a scam, report it to the authorities. Again, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. After all, you spent a lot of time preparing your resume, and you want to make sure it's received by honest potential employers without having to sacrifice your privacy or your money to do so. I've covered a lot of information here. Please feel free to email me and ask me any questions you want. In addition, I have handouts that I can give you to help you. You can also go to career sites like Indeed or Glassdoor, etc. They have a lot of great information and sample resumes that you can look at. Lastly, if you follow these simple rules, you'll do great. Just remember, you're trying to show your skills, your education, and what makes you perfect for this job. You are a mature, responsible team player, and you're willing to work hard and learn. Good luck.